It was 2 in the morning on a Tuesday, in March 1968, when 17-year-old Marcus Williams heard a knock on his apartment door. He was alone, his mother working the night shift at the hospital, and nobody knocked at 2 in the morning unless something was wrong. Marcus opened the door and froze. Standing in the dim hallway of their Harlem apartment building, holding a trumpet case, was Miles Davis. "You Marcus Williams?" Miles asked, his voice that distinctive rasp that Marcus had heard on dozens of records. Marcus couldn't speak, just nodded. "This yours?" Miles held up the trumpet case. Marcus looked at it and felt his stomach drop. He recognized the case immediately. It was the trumpet he'd sold to the pawn shop that afternoon. The trumpet he'd owned for 3 years, the trumpet his grandfather had given him before he died. The trumpet Marcus had sworn he'd never part with until that afternoon, when he'd finally admitted to himself that he couldn't keep it anymore. "How did you?" Marcus started. "Pawn shop owner called me," Miles said. "Said a talented kid came in. Sold a decent horn, looked like it was breaking his heart to do it. Asked me if I wanted first look at it, before he put it on the shelf." Marcus didn't know what to say. The pawn shop owner knew Miles Davis. Miles Davis bought instruments from pawn shops. This couldn't be real. "You going to let me in, or we going to stand in the hallway?" Miles asked. Marcus stepped aside, suddenly aware of how small their apartment was. If Miles noticed, he didn't show it. He walked in, set the trumpet case on the couch, and turned to look at Marcus. "Why'd you sell it?" Miles asked. No preamble, no small talk, just straight to the question. Marcus wanted to lie, wanted to say he was upgrading to a better horn, or he needed the money for something temporary. But standing there in front of Miles Davis at 2 in the morning, lying felt impossible. "I got a job," Marcus said quietly. "At a factory, night shift. Pays better than anything else I can get. My mum's been working double shifts for 2 years trying to keep us afloat since my dad left. I can't ask her to do that anymore. So you quit music." "I don't have a choice. Factory job is 5 nights a week. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Can't practice if I'm working. Can't gig if I'm sleeping all day. And we need the money. Mum's got medical bills from when she had pneumonia last year. Rent's going up. I'm 17. I can work now. I should work." Miles was quiet for a long moment, just looking at Marcus with those intense eyes that had stared out from so many album covers. "What do you want to do?" Miles finally asked. "Not what you have to do, not what's practical. What do you want to do?" Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. Nobody had asked him that. Not his mother, who was too busy surviving to ask about wants. Not his teachers, who were just trying to get kids to graduation. Not the factory foreman who'd hired him and told him he was lucky to get the job. "I want to play," Marcus said, and his voice broke on the words. "I want to play trumpet. I want to make music. I want to be good at it. Maybe even great. I want to play jazz like you do, like Bird did, like all the cats I hear on records." "Then why'd you sell the horn?" "Because wanting something doesn't pay rent." The words came out louder than Marcus intended. "Because dreams don't put food on the table. Because my mom is killing herself working, and I'm sitting here practicing scales while she's emptying bedpans at the hospital. Because I'm 17 years old and it's time to grow up." Miles nodded slowly, like Marcus had just confirmed something he'd suspected. "You know why that pawn shop owner called me?" Miles asked. Marcus shook his head. "Because when you walked out, he said you looked like someone whose dog just died. Said you kept touching the case, like you were saying goodbye to a friend. Said you counted the money 3 times, like you were trying to make it be enough to change your mind. And then you left, and he looked at the horn, and he called me, because he said any kid who cares that much about music deserves a chance to keep making it. Miles picked up the trumpet case, opened it. The horn inside looked small and worn, not a professional instrument, but a decent student model that had been well maintained. Marcus had spent hours polishing it, oiling the valves, making sure it played as well as an instrument in that price range could play. "How much did he give you for it?" Miles asked. $60, Marcus said. Miles pulled out his wallet, counted out bills, and held them out to Marcus. "Here's your $60 back. Take it." Marcus didn't move. "I can't. You can. And you will. Because that trumpet is yours. It was your grandfather's, and you don't sell family instruments to work in a factory. You find another way." "There is no other way," Marcus said. But he was crying now, couldn't help it. "You don't understand. We're broke. Like actually broke. Lights got turned off last month. We're 2 months behind on rent. Mom's too proud to ask anyone for help. I'm not quitting music because I want to. I'm quitting because I have to." Miles was quiet for a moment, then said, "Your mum work at Metropolitan Hospital?" Marcus nodded, confused by the question. "Night shift nurse?" "Nurse's aide. She's not licensed, just helps with the patients." Miles pulled out a small notebook from his pocket, wrote something down, tore out the page, and handed it to Marcus, along with the money. "This is the name and number of a friend of mine. He runs a community center in Harlem, teaches music to kids, needs someone to help with the younger students, teaching basic trumpet, running practice sessions, helping set up for performances. Part-time job, flexible hours, pays decent. Call him tomorrow. Tell him I sent you. He'll hire you." Marcus looked at the paper, then at Miles. "Why would you do this?" "Because somebody did it for me," Miles said simply. "When I was coming up, there was a guy named Dizzy Gillespie. I was young, broke, trying to figure out how to make it in New York. Dizzy got me gigs when I needed money, taught me things without me even realizing I was being taught. Didn't make a big deal about it, just helped, because that's what you do when you see someone with talent who's about to give up because life's kicking their ass." He closed the trumpet case and pushed it toward Marcus. "This is yours. Take it back. Take the money. Call that number tomorrow. Work at the community center instead of the factory. You'll make enough to help your mum. You'll still have time to practice, and you'll be around music instead of assembly lines. But I already told the factory. Tell them something came up. Tell them you got a better offer. Tell them whatever you want. But don't tell me you're giving up music when you haven't even really started yet." Marcus took the money, took the paper, looked at the trumpet case. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just promise me something." "What?" "Promise me that when you make it, not if when, you'll do the same thing for someone else. Some other kid who's about to give up because the world's too hard and dreams seem too expensive. You help them the way I'm helping you, the way Dizzy helped me. You keep it going. Deal?" Marcus nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Miles stood up, headed for the door. Then he stopped, turned back. "One more thing. You said you want to play like Bird, like me, like the cats on records. Don't." Marcus looked confused. "Play like Marcus," Miles said. "That's the only way you're ever going to be great. Everybody else is already taken. The world doesn't need another Miles Davis or another Charlie Parker. It needs the first Marcus Williams. So you take that horn, you practice, you work at the community center, you help your mum, and you figure out what Marcus Williams sounds like. That's the deal. Understood?" "Understood," Marcus managed to say. Miles nodded once, then walked out into the hallway and disappeared down the stairs. Marcus stood there holding $60, a phone number, and his grandfather's trumpet, trying to process what had just happened. Miles Davis had showed up at his door at 2 in the morning. Miles Davis had bought back his trumpet. Miles Davis had gotten him a job. Miles Davis had told him to be Marcus Williams instead of trying to be anyone else. It was the most surreal night of Marcus's life. The next morning, Marcus called the number Miles had given him. The man who answered, Leon Turner, who ran the Harlem Arts Community Center, was expecting his call. Miles called me last night. Leon said, told me about you, said you're the real deal. Just need some support. When can you start? Marcus started that week. The job paid almost as much as the factory work would have, but the hours were flexible, afternoons and early evenings, helping kids learn their instruments, setting up for performances, occasionally playing in the community center's ensemble when they needed extra musicians. It wasn't glamorous work. It was teaching 8-year-olds how to hold a trumpet correctly, cleaning spit valves, moving chairs and music stands. But Marcus was around music every day. He had time to practice, he had money to help his mother, and he had kept his grandfather's trumpet. More importantly, he had something else he'd been seen by Miles Davis. Not just noticed, but truly seen. Miles had looked at Marcus's situation and hadn't told him to tough it out or follow his dreams or any of the other useless advice adults usually gave. Miles had done something practical and immediate. He'd created a solution. Marcus practiced every chance he got. Not to sound like Miles had been clear about that, but to figure out what Marcus Williams sounded like. He experimented, made mistakes, found sounds that felt true to him instead of imitations of his heroes. 3 years later, in 1971, Marcus got his first professional gig, playing backup trumpet for a soul group that was touring the East Coast. Nothing huge, but it was paid work as a musician. He was 20 years old and doing exactly what he'd told Miles he wanted to do that night at 2 in the morning. He tried to call Miles to tell him, but Miles was on tour in Europe, so Marcus wrote him a letter instead, thanking him for the trumpet, for the job connection, for the advice, for seeing something in a scared 17-year-old kid that the kid couldn't see in himself. Miles never wrote back, but a few weeks later, Marcus got a package. Inside was a book about jazz theory and a note in Miles's handwriting. Keep playing like Marcus. Over the next 2 decades, Marcus built a solid career as a session musician. He wasn't famous, but he was working, paying bills, making music on his own terms. He never forgot Miles's instruction. When you make it, do the same for someone else. So Marcus did. Whenever he met a young musician about to give up, Marcus found a way to help. Sometimes buying instruments from pawn shops, sometimes connecting them with teachers, just doing it because someone once did it for him. In September 1991, Marcus heard Miles Davis had died. He went to his closet, pulled out the trumpet, still the one Miles had bought back from the pawn shop, and played So What alone, crying through the whole song. 17 years later, in 2008, Marcus was invited to speak at a tribute concert for Miles Davis. By then, Marcus was a respected musician in his own right, not a household name, but known and valued in jazz circles. He'd released 3 albums, won some minor awards, taught at a music college. Standing on stage at the tribute concert, Marcus told the story of the night. Miles showed up at his door at 2 in the morning. I was 17 years old and about to give up music to work in a factory, Marcus said to the audience. Miles saved me from that. Not with grand gestures or motivational speeches. He saved me by showing up with my trumpet, giving me my money back, and helping me find a job that let me keep practicing. But the real gift wasn't the trumpet or the job connection. The real gift was being seen. Miles looked at a broke kid in a shabby apartment and saw a musician worth saving. He saw potential when I could only see poverty. He saw Marcus Williams when I was trying to be Miles Davis. Marcus held up his trumpet, the same one from that night 40 years ago. This horn has played thousands of gigs. It's recorded on dozens of albums. It's taught hundreds of students. And it's still here because Miles Davis decided that a scared 17-year-old deserved a chance. Miles told me, "When you make it, do the same for someone else." I've tried to live up to that. Every kid I've helped, every instrument I've bought from a pawn shop, every time I've shown up when someone was about to quit. That's all Miles. That's his legacy in me. And here's the thing about that legacy. It's multiplying. The kids I've helped are helping others now. The musicians I've mentored are mentoring their own students. Miles saved me. I saved others. They're saving more. The gift keeps spreading. Marcus paused, looking at the trumpet in his hands. Somewhere in New York right now there's probably a kid about to sell their instrument because life's too hard and dreams seem too expensive. I hope they have their own Miles Davis moment. I hope someone shows up for them the way Miles showed up for me. Because that's what Miles taught me. Greatness isn't just about how well you play. It's about who you help along the way. It's about showing up at 2 in the morning with a trumpet case and $60 and a phone number that changes someone's life. Miles Davis was the greatest trumpet player I ever heard. But he was an even better human being to the people who needed him to be. The audience applauded. But Marcus was thinking about that March night in 1968. About opening his door to find Miles standing there. About the way Miles had seen through his tough guy act to the scared kid underneath. About how one person caring at the right moment had made all the difference. If this story moved you, if you've ever been the scared kid about to give up, or the person who showed up to help, share this video. Someone needs to hear that one moment of care can change everything. Subscribe for more stories about the quiet ways legends change lives, about mentorship that happens at 2 in the morning, about the difference between success and significance.